Another night out west, our new series. As we said, I'm combining my kind of Lindy's magazine duties with another night out west. We wanted to get some coaches on here, Tom, and going to be a fun series here talking to these coaches. And our first one, nice enough to be the debut coach here on the debut episode, debut coach here on the show is Eric Olen, year 2 at New Mexico. Coach, we appreciate you jumping on. How we doing?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the coverage you guys provide for the Mountain West.
Well, we thought we'd kill two birds with one stone, and I'll write my Lindy's preview, and everybody can watch the interview as well, and get to updated with your team on year 2 here. I mean, year 2, just big picture, Coach. You had obviously a lot to adjust to and learn about this league and your program, and building the program there in Albuquerque and everything. I mean, just a year later now, you got some returners, some new players, but what's kind of the 30,000-foot look here at where the Lobos are at going into year 2 for you?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I personally feel more comfortable, certainly, just with being, back in the same place. And, there's certainly a portion of last season that just felt like we were using someone else's facilities, and now it's home. And I think, like you said, a year under the belt, been to the places, been on the road, understand the league a little better than obviously coming in. And hopefully we can build on some of the things we did well from last season.
Well, having Jake Hall certainly helps with that to build on that. 117 threes last year. I think it was a school record, and it was like the 4th most ever by a freshman in the country. And there's some pretty good names on the other 3 that he's behind, I guess. But what getting him back? I know he briefly entered the portal, but I know his brother's there. But I mean, just what would that mean to get him back and to be able to have him in the fold to build off what he did last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. I think obviously the college basketball landscape's getting, really, everybody's trying to get huge, but I still think you win with really good guards. And so having Jake and Uriah Tanette back is huge for us. Jake obviously had a terrific freshman season with the way he scored the ball efficiently, the way he shot it. He had a lot of interest from other places, and sort of looked into that a little bit, and, just felt like he had some unfinished business here. And obviously we had his brother coming, and Uriah coming back, Chris Howell coming back, are guys that he really likes playing with. So, we're fortunate that he decided to come back, and hopefully he can help us have a good season.
Coach, you mentioned briefly there Uriah Tanette. Jake Hall gets a lot of the publicity, and rightly so. But Tanette, one of the most important, if not the most important position on the floor, to get him back, a guy in his shoes at a non-power 5, I think you would probably agree that 80-90% of players in his position as a freshman could go elsewhere, right? So you were able to retain Tanette as well, which gives you stability at the point to get Jake Hall those looks. Even though he was a freshman last year, he finished a lot of games for you in crunch time. So speak to what the steps you're looking for Uriah to make here from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think in this process, right, like Jake is the one that gets talked about because he went in the portal and he came back, and it was an emotional process where, Uriah almost gets overlooked because he just was steady and solid and coming back the whole time. And, but he's a terrific basketball player, and I feel like he can make a jump. He had a fantastic year as a freshman. Like you said, he's in big moments, ton of experience, played a lot of minutes, even when he wasn't starting. He started the last few games of the season, but even when he wasn't starting, he was closing a lot of games. And if you go turn the film on, we're late in close games, and Uriah and Jake are in 2-man actions, and they're making plays. And so that's really valuable experience for those guys. I thought Uriah had a terrific season defensively last year. He had more steals and turnovers on the season. And I think there's a jump he can make efficiency wise on the offensive end. Pretty prolific kind of pull up mid-range jump shooter out of high school. And he had some mixed results with that. And I just think with his comfort level coming back, if he can just be a little more consistent finishing and making some of those, short twos with a little bit of, projection and increased shooting. If he takes a jump efficiency wise, I think he's a monster this season for us.
Yeah, I don't think that's too much to ask. I think it's a natural progression, and I think that's certainly doable. Will give you guys one of the best backcourts out west for sure. Let's move away from the backcourt for 1 second. You got a couple of veterans, one that you're very familiar with. You mentioned him too, Chris Howell, returning from injury. One of the guys you brought in, Petritis, also off of an injury. How are those guys progressing? Do you see anything like limiting them once you're in actual fall practices in October? Are they going to be ready to go in November? How are their bodies holding up? What kind of veteran leadership are you looking for from those two guys?
Yeah, those two guys are important for us. Just kind of experienced guys who have been through it, kind of provide that adult in the locker room kind of presence. And, yeah, unfortunately we lost Chris Howell last year, and he had some nagging things throughout and never quite got into the shape that he probably needed to, and I thought that contributed a little bit. So he's worked hard this offseason. He looks great. He's full go and playing well. He had a good practice this morning. Reedus is still rehabbing. He had a surgery last year, so he's rehabbing, and he's starting to get back into some non-contact stuff. I think he'll probably be more full contact as we get back into the fall. But we expect them both to be, clear, ready to go and impactful guys for us. And both of those guys do all kinds of stuff that impact winning. Obviously on the court, in the locker room, just their competitiveness, their personalities are infectious. We're excited about them both.
I know you guys added Hudson Mays as well. I mean, what else, aside from Hall and what he's bringing and some of the other guys we've talked about, what else excites you about this team?
Yeah, I think we just have a really versatile group. I think that I liked our group last year. I thought we were really talented, but we did at times feel a little bit singular in some of the things that we could do. And I think this group is just, a little more positional size on the perimeter, more interchangeable parts. And I think we're going to have a little bit more versatility to how we play really on both sides of the ball, that I think, could be a benefit for us.
Okay, we're here on Another Night Out West with Coach Eric Olen of the New Mexico Lobos, kind enough to join us here in our off-season coaching interview series. So, Coach, I want to ask you, when you got into coaching, the whole recruiting landscape was far different, and now you guys have taken advantage of this, as have a lot of other programs. We got to go international, right? So take me through that process. You had massive success with that with Tomislav this past season. You got several foreign guys on your roster this coming season. Is it kind of the same format where your assistants are over there scouting these guys out, and then you kind of follow up once you're really interested? How much are you seeing of them? How does that process kind of play out?
Yeah, so it's kind of, each case is individual a little bit. So, we have, I'm trying to think of all the guys, right? Like, Imran Soljanovic, Benny Shuk, Coach Tenkelwich watched 2 years ago under 18 championships. We were recruiting them, in previous years, and, just the timing of things. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And, there's relationships involved with the players and the families, and agents are a big part of it now. Finn Lastring was someone that had a really good under 18 European championships, and we'll have staff members at that event again this summer. So that's a place where we get to see some guys in person. But then there's also some of the process where you don't see them in person, and you kind of have to go off film and word of mouth, and,
Yep.
trying to do your homework is he really as big as this says? Is he, and we did have success with that. Tomislav Buljan was someone that we only saw via film, but I had a former player who was playing in the league with him. And so, being able to have Tony give me feedback of, yeah, he's a good player, and, things like that, or you try any resource you can find to try to do your homework. But Federico Grani was someone that we, did not see in person, went through film and other references. And, he showed up as advertised and has been pretty good so far. So that's encouraging. And, it's really just kind of, sometimes we get the chance to see him, and we got a better feel for, what they're like, and other times it's, there's a little bit of risk involved. But I think, it's not that we only want to get international players. I do think stylistically some of the things that we do make sense, especially for some of the front court guys, that European. But yeah, we're just trying to build the best basketball team we can, and try to use every avenue available to us to do that.
Are those guys a little talking to a couple of these other coaches? It sounds like maybe they're a little more affordable at times too, or maybe sometimes the agents are a little more honest or easier to deal with. I mean, is there a different? There's more to it than just fitting in with the style of play and all that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it. I think that, and then like you guys talked about Thomas Loft doing well or other guys having success. I think if those guys over there see guys come over and have success, it gives them confidence that that's a good situation, because there's places where they come over and they don't have success, or they don't, so there's a lot of factors, and that's why it's kind of almost, it's hard to, you don't want to paint it with too broad a brush, because it's a little different for each person. And but yeah, there's relationships involved, and if guys come over and have success, I think that gives you an advantage for the next round. But that works both ways, right? Jake Hall's success when he goes in the portal, everybody in the country is calling us like, hey, I want to send my guy to do that, right? And we just encourage that and say like, yeah, you should. Jake's not that good. Your guy's gonna kill it, so yeah, it's kind of all those factors, when you're trying to put the roster together.
You mentioned Thomas Love, and I mean New Mexico, but I mean before you got there, obviously is mostly what I'm talking about. But it hit as hard as anybody in these league in terms of losing guys in the portal and bringing guys in and watching them go just do big things elsewhere. How I know it's a rabid fan base down there. You guys are getting big crowds and stuff, but how are you guys in rev share and NIL? And I'm sure you're going to say it's nowhere near where it needs to be. No coach is going to say it's perfect, but how do you feel you guys are trying to equip from that aspect to be able to start hanging on to more of these guys like Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, we just have to keep growing, right? We have to keep growing and competing in the landscape. And I think a lot of it is a mindset, right? And my hope is that people look at it as an opportunity to impact the program, impact our success. And we aren't going to be perfect in that. But we're going to try to do the part that we can to control the experience they have, to make sure guys feel like they're getting better. I think when guys are in an environment where they feel good about where they are, they know they're progressing, they like the environment, then that gives you a chance to keep them, right? And that's the part you can control. And, we won't keep everybody, but, hopefully we can, keep our share. And, I tell our fans when the question comes up is you can't, it's just a new landscape, right? And you can't sweat every decision. Good players are going to leave, but we're also going to bring in good players. And as long as, the administration and the university is committed to being successful and providing resources, then we're going to replace good players with good players, and we'll build good basketball teams. But, there's a lot of this that we can't control, and we just got to focus on the things that we can.
So you mentioned a new landscape in college hoops. Never more appropriate at this time with the restructuring, let's say, of the conference that you're in. You lose several heavy hitters. You replace them with some teams to backfill. So the conference schedule will not be as strong. You guys really went out, kind of scheduled pretty tough in the non-con. You got Utah State coming to the pit, so that'll be fantastic. You're in a really good, I don't know if you're really calling it an MT, but a little series there where you're going to play Boise and Oregon State and on a neutral floor. You also got games against St. Mary's and I believe Santa Clara, an NCAA tournament team from a year ago, both NCAA tournament teams. So really trying to step up the non-conference scheduling there. Are those discussions you're having as a staff, kind of realizing that, hey, it's going to be tougher now to get an at-large bid out of the new Mountain West, even with some added bids here? Or is this just what you're trying to do from a philosophy of scheduling wise?
Well, I think it's both things, right? And it's like, if you want to be in the conversation, you got to schedule aggressively. And we have, they're not all announced. We have another home and home. We're starting on the road with a very good team that would be a quad one, in addition to the ones you mentioned. So yeah, we're pursuing a resume that will give us an opportunity if we play great basketball, to try to be in that mix for an at-large. But, we'll see how that goes and how the league does. And, it's not obviously you're playing the game, so you are in control, but you also need some help because nobody's perfect. It's hard to win on the road. Like,
Mm.
you don't want to be in the best one bid league in the country. Like that's the worst place to be.
Right.
So, we're trying to give ourselves some options, but we need everybody to play good basketball, and we have to do our part too for the rest of the league, right? Like that's why we kind of all need to work together in this, and a lot of our conversations with the teams who had left, right, who are in the new Pac-12 is, hey, you need the same games we need. Let's try to play each other. That's you saw the Utah State one come to fruition. St. Mary's with Gonzaga leaving, they need good opponents. So we're trying to find teams who are kind of in the same boat as us, because otherwise it's hard for everybody, So yeah, we're certainly trying to compete against really good teams who have similar aspirations as we do. And I think that gives us all the best chance to try to, get in the mix.
Well, final thing for me, Coach, and appreciate your time again. Eric Olen, New Mexico, second-year head coach. I'm doing the Lindy stuff, and I'm putting the list together, and I'm still doing the Pac-12 and Mountain West, and now I'm like having to reach out to the UC Davis SID and the Hawaii SID and Texas State. I mean, who knows what's in what conference nowadays? What in terms of the Mountain West and what you guys have now? You lost some pretty good basketball programs, but I know you backfilled that a little bit, and obviously Grand Canyon was in last year and is now staying. And just what do you make of that? You talked about it, but the league you're in and what you think it can be basketball wise here moving forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a great basketball league, and I'm not pretending it's what it was. Like, you can't lose the teams that we lost and think you're not, or you're just going to stay where you are. Like, that's not realistic. But I think there's some really good teams. There's some great coaches. I'm familiar with Davis and Hawaii, having been in the Big West with them. Hawaii was a top 100 team last year. So that's a nice addition. I think UC Davis is certainly capable of being in that 130 range and being a quad 2 on the road. And I think that's part of it. I think San Jose State is going to be much improved if they could stay healthy. Coach Miles does a great job there. So, I'm optimistic for what the league can do. And I think that while, everybody's just got to do their part, right? Some of us are trying, to compete at the top of it, and we got to play great basketball, and it's not just about competing at the top, but like, we need the best teams to be analytically pretty good, right? And then, if you're in more of the middle, then we need you to analytically be, quad 2, and as many of those games as we can kind of get, then the better for everybody. But again, we're all sort of in it together, but also competitors at the same time, right? So there's a weird dynamic there, but it's interesting you really have to root for the success of your competitors in a real way, to give yourself the best opportunity. And I think everybody in our league understands that and is rowing in the right direction.
All right, Coach, really appreciate your time. As BJ said, I just one last kind of semi-serious thing. Once we get to the season, are we going to see you with the full beard here? Not used to seeing you with the facial hair. Is this just an off-season thing? Are we gonna sport that during the winter?
Yeah, no, it's probably just kind of comes and goes in the off season a little bit. I didn't know we're doing Zooms today, right? Like, I thought we were Lindy's phone call, but it's all good.
I like it.
I'm sure you would have shaved if you knew that was the case, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We appreciate it, Coach. Thanks a lot for jumping on, and hopefully during the season, after you get some big wins, you were nice enough to join us last year, I think twice. So hopefully we can get you on again as the season gets closer during the season. And thanks for doing this, and best of luck this year.
Thanks. Good. Yeah, happy to jump on in the future, and I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
You too.